This is a brief introduction to Annual Certificate of Pensionable Profits, which we will be referring to as a Type 1, and Type 2 Medical Practitioner Self-Assessment Forms, which we will be referring to as a Type 2. So which certificate or form do you need to complete and submit every year? A Type 1 certificate must be completed each year by principal GPs and non-clinical partners, and the Type 2 form must be completed each year by salaried GPs and long-term fee-based GPs. A Type 1 certificate or Type 2 form is required every year to allow PCSE to reconcile your contributions paid against your pensionable income, and the information on the certificate or form is necessary in order for NHS Pensions to produce your end-of-year total reward statement. The GP pensions timeline runs from the beginning of the year up until August. Pension scheme members, PCSE and NHS Pensions all have a part to play. Each party completes their part of the process at a designated point in the year. The process starts with NHS Pensions publishing the blank certificates you need, plus guidance on their website, and PCSE updates PCSE Online to reflect any changes to the certificates or guidance. We then start to communicate to you that you need to complete and submit your certificate or form. The deadline for you doing this is the 28th of February. After that date, we begin to process your certificates or forms, and you will receive a notification once the PCSE processing is complete. We then update Pensions Online, which is a system that NHS Pensions use to refresh your total reward statement, with the aim of having your refreshed total reward statement available to view by the 31st of August. When we say processing your Type 1 or Type 2 form, that involves reconciling your contributions paid against your pensionable income that you have declared. This can result in an adjustment for under or overpayment of contributions throughout the year. PCSE is also responsible for uploading the information from your certificates to Pensions Online, and this is the system that NHS Pensions access to refresh your TRS. Pensions Online can only be updated sequentially. If there is a year where you don't submit a fully completed certificate or form, then we are unable to update the Pensions Online system, and NHS Pensions won't be able to update your TRS. Your TRS won't update for any year beyond the last successful Pensions Online update, even if you've correctly submitted all of your completed certificates or forms for all subsequent years. The example that we see here is the 1819 certificate was not submitted or was not correct at the point it was submitted. That means that PCSE couldn't process it and couldn't update Pensions Online, and NHS Pensions couldn't refresh your TRS. We can see that in 1920, in this scenario, a certificate was submitted. PCSE were able to process it, but because of the missing year the year before, Pensions Online couldn't be updated. And this will continue until that missing certificate for 1819 is submitted and processed. But once you submit your certificate for the missing year, we will then be able to process it and update Pensions Online. When you are completing this year's certificate in PCSE Online, when you get to the drop-down to select the year, if you see any of those years in red, that means that that certificate is missing, and it's simply a case of clicking on that year and submitting the details for that missing year, which will allow PCSE to process that information and update Pensions Online. So getting started, all the contributions that you have paid throughout the year that PCSE have a record of are available to view in PCSE Online in the Employee Contribution Statement screen. It's worth having a look at this before you begin completing your Type 1 or Type 2 certificate. And if you're not using PCSE Online, some things to be aware of is that you need to make sure that all the mandatory fields are completed. This includes your GMC number, if applicable. All personal details, your name, national insurance number, etc. must be correct. And your certificates or forms must either be signed or submitted using an nhs.net email address. These last 3 points are only applicable if you're completing the old-style offline versions of the forms or certificates, as PCSE Online auto-populates all the data we already hold for you. You might find that the national insurance number field is blank if it's blank on the performers list section of PCSE Online, but you can either go to those performers list screens and enter it there so that we have it, or you can free type it each time you submit a certificate. If you're looking for more information about GP pensions, visit the NHS Pensions Member Hub, or if you want more information about PCSE Online or our part in the process, you can visit the PCSE website. I'm now going to hand over to Katrina to give us a quick demonstration on how to submit a certificate using PCSE Online.
In this demonstration, we are going to complete a Type 2 self-assessment end-of-year form on PCSE Online. So once we've logged into the PCSE Online portal, we click the Pensions and Payments button and the Pensions button and then Self-Assessment Type 2. And then we're taken to the self-assessment screen where we would click Self-Assessment if we're going to complete the form for the first time. And you will see that this will bring the first page of the form up on screen, and my details, including pension scheme number and name, will be populated. Now, in this instance, I have already started the Type 2 form, so I'm going to retrieve the draft form that I have begun and saved. So I'll go back to self-assessment. I'll go to the listings button. And on this screen, all I need to do is click search. And then the Type 2 forms that I have already started or completed will be displayed on the screen. And if we click the hyperlink on the draft, then this will open up the form and we will be able to proceed. So this is my Type 2 form for the year 2019-20. And you can see that I have the practice that I worked at and also the organisation that I carried out, some solo work that I have added when I begun the draft. All you need to do to add any organisations that are not listed when you first log in is to enter the organisation code in the search box here. So in this case, we had G6662132, and that would bring up the practice details or the organisation's details when I worked for the solo provider. So once you have the correct organisations listed, then we have already selected that it's the 2019-20 financial year, and that the pension scheme that I was a member of is the 2015 scheme, so the system has defaulted so that that's the form that I complete. So we click Save and Next, and we're now going to move on to the page where we enter the income and the pension contributions. So what we need to do now is to check that the figures that populate on the screen here include all of my income for the year. So looking at the practice in row 2, then I can confirm that £20,547.33 reflects my actual earnings. But looking at the solo row in row 3, then I have checked, and actually that should be £5,000. So I need to declare that additional income, and the actual contributions that I made were £400 in this example. So we now then check the locum figures, and again I can confirm that £11,767.50 was the correct income, and the £1,470.94 correctly reflects my contributions. So in order to execute the correct calculation, then I need to select the tier rate that's appropriate to my earnings. So the tier rate in this case is 12.5. And what you'll see here is that having selected that, then the calculation will update, and the bottom of the form, I can see the total of the employee contributions that were due and the total of the employer contributions that were due, and the difference now between that and what has actually been paid. So we're going to save and next. So click this button, and this will now take me to the page where I need to declare that all of this information is correct. Now, of course, it is worthwhile just going back over the figures before you click the next page, just to double check that everything is accurate according to your records. If you're not sure and you think, oh, hang on, I'm not sure if I've captured those figures properly, then you would just click the previous button if you want to go back and check again. So all of the notes here in terms of what we're confirming and declaring are exactly the same as we would be doing if it was a paper form. So we just tick to confirm that everything is accurate, and then we click submit for the form to go straight to PCSE. Now, once I have submitted the form, then I'll see the button then to print, and I can print off a copy for my own records, but I don't really need to do that because I can go to the listing screen, and if I now search again to see all of my forms, excuse me, then I can see that the 1920 self-assessment form is now in declarated status. Once PCSE have checked all of the details on the form, then I will get an updated status here, and that will either tell me that the form has been approved and there's nothing else for me to do, or if there are any issues with the form, then my form declaration status would be rejected, and I can open the form and check the reasons and comments that have been put there by PCSE. And the other thing to mention, of course, is where there is a difference between the contributions that I've made and the contributions that I should have made, then the appropriate adjustments need to be made so that the end of year reconciliation is completed. Now I have logged back into PCSE Online to check the status of my Type 2 forms. So once again, I go to the listing screen and click search. And then I can see that the 2019-20 form that I have completed has been approved, but the 2020-21 form that I've also completed has been rejected, and by hovering on the information button I can see the rejection notes, and as mentioned earlier, we can click the hyperlink to open the form, check what we've done wrong and get ready to resubmit. So that comes to the end of our demonstration of the Type 2 certificates. As you can see, very straightforward process and much easier than completing a paper form and sending it in by the old method. Thank you.